Welcome to a new episode of DevSecOps Talks with me, Matthias.
Vina?
Come.
Andre.
Yeah, hardest part, always.
We should speed it up in the recording.
Yeah, I think I can do that. Like squeeze it in a little bit quicker. Last episode we talked about all the fun compliance, but there was one that we didn't talk about, right?
Actually, two.
Two?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay, which two?
I think we skipped DSA and MiCA.
Okay.
We can touch upon DSA very quickly because I don't think it affects practitioners that much.
Oh.
So Digital Services Act basically aims on taxing American firms in Europe.
Yes.
This is where it boils down to.
I into it, and you're right. It's very large online platforms which have more than 45 million active users in EU.
Wow.
So that's quite massive for EU. So marketplaces, social media, cloud services as a primary ones.
45 million active users.
Yeah, that's massive.
Yeah.
So you have to qualify to get there, and if you work for one of those companies,
Yeah.
that's not really your problem. You will have people who are paid to deal with this, and I don't think it will boil down to the practitioners like DSA. Probably not. And like the most of the applications we've seen, it's like, again, EU levying fees on US companies.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think it's good to know some base requirements, which is one of the main one is transparency. So we have there's logging of pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And being able to get your data also from the users.
Yeah, I think they were like after Apple quite a bit. They were quite a bit after Apple. I think it was under DSA that they forced Apple to allow installation from outside of App Store. So basically, it's much harder for the big tech players to lock in people in their platform.
Yeah.
That's like, I think, one of the biggest impacts of it.
But would this, if I'm building my app idea that I have right now and it gets so popular, so it gets 50 million users really quick, then this would apply, I guess.
Yes.
Brussels will come calling.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think probably Spotify from Swedish based apps. That's one of the.
Klarna. So,
is Klarna that big?
Klarna is very big.
Okay.
Millions and millions. They're global, basically. And they cover multiple countries in EU, like they're in Spain, they're all of the Nordics, I believe. So you definitely get up to 45 million there.
A lot of users.
Yeah, okay. They also in the US. But like, DSA doesn't really cover the, I guess, US operations that much.
Okay. And the other one with the funny name, MiCA.
Yeah.
MiCA. What does it stand for?
That stands for Markets and Crypto Assets Regulation.
Hooray.
It's actually been around for quite some time. So I think they adopted it in 2023.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now it's starting to enter in force gradually. They had a self-reporting period where you could basically try to provide all the documents up front. There is quite a lot of documentation you need to provide. And you also need to understand if you are covered by that. So there are multiple entities. So there are issuers. So if you are issuing any kind of cryptocurrencies, tokens and stuff, you're covered, and you need to make sure, like, there are transparency requirements on you. If you are crypto asset service provider, I think those are regulated the hardest. Those would be exchanges.
Yeah.
Then like trading platforms, brokers, custodial wallet providers, and so on. So those supposed to be obtaining a license from a EU member state regulator in order to work. And there are quite a bit of checks that they need to be passing through. So it's very, I mean, don't take my word for that, but from what I heard, it felt very similar of getting banking license.
Yeah.
Like the amount of paperwork you need to be doing there. And it's mostly to prevent, segregating assets, making sure that you don't lose everything at once. Also, you have consumer protections, stable coin specific rules. Interesting one that probably will affect everyone is that they're linking it to anti-money laundering. And they now require the travel rule for crypto. So the exchanges should be requiring people to disclose the sender and receiver for the transactions above certain amount. I believe that would be like €1,000.
Yeah.
So like banks kind of collect that information already when you're wiring the money. But I think because they basically know, well, they ask you who you're sending money to all the time, because they only see the bank account. They don't really know, but they're supposed to be collecting information. So they want to do the same for crypto, kind of getting it out of the shadow and bringing it in line with banks and others.
Yeah.
So all of those transactions could be taxed as well. So it's not, anti-money laundering, basically.
So in Sweden, the banks are really fussy about this, right? Every time you try to send money, they're on you. It's the same in Spain and Denmark. The banks are...
Well, basically, I don't know about the Denmark, but since Spain is in Eurozone, Eurozone is very easy. You have SEPA instant transfers. So you're basically sending money across the European Union instantly. So it's almost like a neobank. But if you want to send abroad, then they would go through SWIFT or something like that.
Now in Denmark, as we are out of EU zone, similarly like Sweden, you need SWIFT and you need IBAN and everything. So it's not that compliant as Eurozone.
Yeah. Never mind. Okay. So a lot of compliance. But Paulina, what do they have in common, right? Are they something that it could be that many or one of the compliance is coming your way? Is there some way me as a practitioner can prepare yourself, right? Task to think about when you're building your platform or working to be more ready?
So, I mean, of course, first thinking to check to which one you need to comply to, but a lot of stuff are overlapping for them because, I mean, of course, for example, we have AI Act, Data Governance Act, and they are responsible for different stuff, but we touch data in all of it. So, for example, you have logging, monitoring, and governance, and they're all mentioned in AI Act, NIS2, and DORA. For example, logging and governance, it's also mentioned in DSA. So you already cover in 2 categories, you covered 4 regulations. In 1 category, you cover 3. So some of them gonna overlapping or have very similar requirements. So if you are complying to one, you can very easily, very often to comply to the other one.
Yeah. So logging is one of the keys you need to have in place, like good logging from everything, your applications, your endpoints, your almost any logging you can think about. Is there some compliance where you want to have it? I mean, when I did PCI DSS and I think SOC, you need to have a central place to ship your logs to.
So one of the requirements to have a central logging platform, and also adding up to the last one, also there's the incident response timings. It's important to have depending on the particular regulations. So let me just find my notes.
I think that's interesting. I mean, login comes in like as a security feature, right? Like you need to have it for security, but I would say like from operation standpoint, it's really nice to see the full context of all your logs. When you have logs from load balancer, application, database in one place, you can search them and see them together. I think that brings value to troubleshoot and, basically working with applications. I would say it's a good step from the operation standpoint, and not only for security.
Yes, I mean, we are not that far from best practices in many cases here. But they are more enforced by law now if you have to be compliant for the particular regulations. So, yeah.
But when we talked about governance, what do we mean then?
So by governance, we mean, risk assessment and human overview. That's as a part of it, because in some of it you have requirement for human in the loop. For example, in AI Act, being able to check whatever it's doing, to being able to verify at some point if you are governing in the correct way.
I think this sometimes like risk assessment and disaster recovery and all that. Sometimes I think it's a little bit sad that it comes from security to enforce this. It should be like best practices anyhow.
It
right?
should be, but it's very often overlooked. I've seen recently in quite a few places that some very basic stuff are not automated. And you have complicated manual process, and suddenly you have 200 of these things, and you are not able to change it easily. You need, if you assess it correctly, you need a week or two to being able to change all the stuff and rotate them because of the processes, how is it structured. So you very often overlook it till you have to look into it, because security breach happen, incident happen, and only then you actually, hey, I have to do it. And instead of spending 1, 2, 3, 4 hours on it, you spend 2, 3, 4 weeks on it. So from one side, sure, it's good to have good practices, but from the other side, unless you push to do something, you don't gonna prioritize it. Let's be honest. We always have too much to do and too little time being able to look into everything.
It's a business priority. It's like the business decides what's called on, and that's why we're getting those regulations like we spoke about last time. Like the business didn't prioritize, so if you don't do a good job, then eventually you're inviting the state to step in and regulate you. If you're causing trouble, and they were causing trouble. I mean, like there was like so much crypto scam. The people used crypto for tax evasion, sanctions evasion, and so on and so on. So that's why the government is stepping in and trying to regulate. But on the bright side, like if you look at MiCA, then they're also giving you a rule book. If you're in the business and you're building the business, you have to be somewhat brave in order to be in an unregulated industry, because the rules of the game can change anytime if the state decides to come in and regulate you. Obviously, there are always companies spending money on lobbying, so the rules would change in their favor. But when you do have the rules in place, it makes you easier to plan. Like if you already know what needs to happen. But also, there are, like, for instance, with MiCA, there are certain, in order to get compliant, you have to spend a lot of money. And that potentially would limit the competition, because not like starting the new crypto exchange in Europe now would be way more harder compared to what it would be before the MiCA was forced.
Yeah, also I think it's, certain institutions should be really pushed. As we talk in DORA, we have bank or payment processors, which are, kind of crucial for society to function. I mean, we had this year even cases. I think we had something in Denmark. I think also in Spain there was incident, or that was the other country. I don't remember the details, but we've seen what's happening if payment system doesn't work, especially where we are not really using, at least in Denmark, the cash doesn't almost exist. I only use cash to being able to buy laundry coins, and that's all. So I go to maybe cash machine twice a year, or if I travel abroad, to the country where I need to exchange to be able to get cash. But that's all. So if you are not able to pay by card, suddenly you can, the society is pretty much blocked. So I think it's good that we have, regulated, and we are pushed to have the process how to handle the incidents. And also, I mean, I've seen cases. Do you know, for example, how to handle incident for each of your customer? Do you know the process? Because I've seen cases when I'm like, okay, there's incident, I don't know what to do because I cannot find it in the documentation. Documentation is updated by 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Right.
And okay, we can handle it from the technical point of view, but okay, who should we inform? Who should we talk to? And besides the, maybe tech lead, which you usually, or whoever is your project boss from the customer side, yeah.
On a practical side, there is like a recommendation for this. Have a mailing list. It's very easy to have. Let people to sign up for the mailing list. And then like when the people are like, if you have a customers, when your customers are onboarded, like if you're in B2B, for instance, send them the mailing list, says like, add your people there who needs to be informed if we are feeling bad. And that kind of makes it happen automatically. You don't need to maintain the data on your side. Then it becomes your customer responsibility to stay up to date and be in the mailing list, and also like make sure just to push email maybe every quarter, not every often, saying, you know what, you're on this mailing list, we announce our incidents here. If you think someone should be here, like if you're about to be fired or leave the company, make sure that there is a replacement so your company get notified, or better use the mailing list of your own, or like the mailing group of your own, instead of having the individuals on the list.
I like this with better incident. I mean, it's coming incident all the time. In Sweden, we had a big hack with it stolen 1.5 million user data, and it's always handled in different ways. So I like to have an incident plan, and I would say like the incident plan is made so that everybody can blame the plan when they do stuff, right? So if you don't tell the marketing team that they have an incident, if they come to you and say, why haven't you told me? It's like, oh, but look, here in the incident plan, it says I'm going to call you in 24 hours. It's only been 20 hours, so I will do it later, right? And if someone say, hey, you called me, why did you call me? And then you can go back to the plan, like here, it says here 24 hours. If you have some issues, let's update the plan so it fulfills what we need, right? And if external companies come in and say, oh, you know what? You had an incident, you should inform us. Like, yeah, no, we have a plan here. We should try to resolve the issue, and when the issue is resolved, we will contact you in 6 hours. This is the plan here that we're trying to follow. So you can always like circle back and blame the plan when you work an incident, and that also gives maybe confidence to the people working with it, that they just continue working from the plan, and then really nobody can be mad at you or be upset. And if someone and you can point to the plan and say, okay, that's a good point, let's update the plan for the next time. In that sense, I think it's good to have it and just shield everybody else around you from.
Yeah, I mean, and also to being able to figure out who's responsible for what. Because, for example, if I'm looking into incident to production, not necessarily I want to handle a lot of communication with business side. Okay, we have status, we can do it, but I don't want to have suddenly, 3 different teams, someone from sales, someone from something else coming and asking, okay, hey, what's going on? I want to focus on resolving the incident. So that's also, it's usually helpful to have the ownership of who does what and who's responsible for communication between tech and management or outside or whoever. Also to not have everyone, coming and communicating with outside, but having one person responsible for it. So
yeah, I think we had like 3 episodes of like incident planning. Those are good, and I recommend the listener to go back and listen to them if you want to know more about incidents.
There is a little bit of security angle to what Paulina mentioned with energy outage in Spain. We don't really know what happens there. I don't think we will know, but generally the grids are very hard to balance, and in most cases they're not the place where you will see a lot of investment going on. There was an episode on Security Now where they discussed the use of the Chinese inverters for the solar panels that were like found to have undocumented communication device in them. So technically could be used to send the remote command.
Yeah.
We don't really know why it's there, but it's undocumented and people were surprised to find it. And thing is, like, with amount of solar being generated now on the grid, if you tweak a lot of those inverters at the same time, you could easily overwhelm the grid and cause a lot of instability. And there was reports of that happening, like in US. Again, we know what we know, so we have to take it with a grain of salt, but there is this. So it's not out of, just precaution. There are possibilities of actors trying to make things unstable without doing the finger pointing here.
Yeah. Finger pointing. Yeah, it's interesting. So things that you should work on to be ready for compliant, if I just go back, is like logging is always good to have, of course. We know that best practice. Incident response plan, really handy to have in place. You start with once you have it in place. Business continuous planning, right?
Yes.
To plan your business if something happens, if Slack is down, if internet is down, how should you continue? Those things are good to get started with.
Yeah, risk assessment
data and can your users access data easily and not wait for it for too long. So, having APIs, for example, so user can access the data and get it, that will be also something. And where your data is stored, is it allowed for you to store data out of EU, for example?
Oh, yeah. Keeping track of that is a big thing as well, right? Where is your data storage policy? Right? I don't know. I heard that, for example, there are countries that you save all TLS data and you store it. Because you never know, maybe in the future you can decrypt that TLS data and then you have it. Yeah.
Also basics on how do you recover, so not only the incident response, but what needs to be done to recover in different scenarios, having documentation for this.
Yeah. And of course, risk assessment. Paulina, when did you do a risk assessment on any of your clients? No?
No, I got a cramp.
Yeah, you're getting cramp. You look kind of strange as well. You're like, what's up? Yeah. I just said risk assessment and Paulina is just...
This is how it works. Yes.
Okay, she's out. Okay.
It's something that you do regularly and on a regular basis.
Yeah.
It actually helps to sit down, reflect on what are the risks, and then it will inform your decision making and a priority.
Yeah, but
it is.
It's kind of enforced by AI Act that you need to assess in which category your systems are and which regulations comply towards you.
Yeah.
So, one thing is risk assessment, which risk can come to you, and another thing in which risk assessment category or is your system.
And I think risk assessment is a good start. I mean, it's so hard to get started, and everybody's just like, oh. But after, it's usually always like, oh, this is pretty good. Now we learned something. So
you don't have to make it hard for yourself. I mean, like you can start with a spreadsheet.
yeah,
Plus, there are like a bunch of tools now that help you with the compliance, like SOC 2 compliance and all of that, like Vanta, Drata, Secure Frame. There are plenty of those out there.
Sprinto maybe, yeah, there's a lot of them that can help really. But for like practical things, logging, making sure database, backups, all the basic, would you say, isn't it just like the basic things, keeping track of that, right? Keeping track of where you have your data, making sure that you have your logs from your stuff, making sure your APIs is up. The kind of basic that we did in co-location time.
Yeah, it's nothing
still
fancy
valid.
for majority of the cases. It's more like enforcing the basics and good practices on the organizations.
Raising the baseline. So before that, there was like no baseline. Now there is a baseline.
Yeah.
They used to be called the best practice. Now it's like mandatory stuff that you need to be doing.
That's a very good point. I mean, we call it just compliance, like the minimal floor, the baseline, what you should do, right? And as you said, before it was just best practices, right? Now it's actually enforced best practices. It sounds better when you say it that way.
So I'm a little bit skeptical. Since, for instance, if you take NIS2, which is supposed to, or DORA, well, DORA is a bit better, but like NIS2, which is focused on like utility management companies, which are maybe not the most profitable businesses in the world. I mean, you ask more of them, but there is no increase in funding to do that.
Yeah.
So, like, if your electricity bill gets higher, don't be surprised, because they need to get money from somewhere.
Yeah.
To get through that and do the more work, basically, to comply. So that will push the cost, and that cost very well might end up with the consumer.
Yeah. But do you see more companies that you can more and more buy it from other? I mean, I have this sales guy, he always brings up like this guy that drive boats, like on the river with tourists, right? He maybe is compliant for maybe needs to if I have a lot of clients, right? But he really cares. He's just driving his boat, right? Like
that's another question. Like if they will come after you in particular, so like, and when that happen?
Yeah, but you also have at the same time more companies which gonna try to make it more automated. You have some bigger companies, some smaller, without giving names, which I can see are trying to automate the compliance as much as possible by also some by using AI, some don't. To also shift it left and make it automated. So kind of making compliance as a pipeline in this case. At least, when you give certain, hey, I should be compliant towards NIS2, or I should be compliant to AI Act or something, and then it gives you recommendations. I tried few tools. So for example, I put my Terraform code or something, and it gives me recommendation. Okay, am I compliant towards it or not? So I think that's also a good point that there's also market for this, which maybe is gonna get it more accessible and not that expensive moving forward. Because if we have more and more regulations, the market needs gonna be bigger and bigger for it. I also see requests from the customers like, "Hey, we don't really know about it that much. Can you help us with it? Can you help us? Okay, where to start looking? Because we have our legal team, but our developers has no clue what to do with it."
Exactly.
Cool. A lot of cool tools. Okay, we come up to half an hour.
Yeah, maybe we probably spent enough time on regulations. Let's come back to some technical topics next time we meet.
Yeah.
There was also like a DORA report, the new DORA report.
DORA came out a few days ago. I was listening.
So that's probably what we're going to do next time.
DORA.
Not
It's
as
like-
technical, but still might be interesting.
It's good to see trends also what's going on the market.
It is. Okay, thanks for it. Compliant, what do you call it? Practical advice tour.
It's not a legal advice, no.
Not a big one. Just our ramblings on it.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for tuning in.
Till next time.
You have been listened to DevSecOps Talks with Matthias, Andre, and Paulina. For notes and information, please visit devsecops.fm. Thanks for tuning in.